Captivity has a hidden cost. Behind the smiles, behind the polished shows, and behind the applause, lies a risk so great, most of us never stop to think about it. Wild animals, powerful and unpredictable, are forced into small tanks and told to perform as though they were circus acts. Trainers are told they have a bond. Crowds are told it's safe. But the truth? Captivity pushes animals to their limits, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And when that limit is crossed, tragedy is inevitable. On July 15, 2015, the world saw that truth unfold in real time. That afternoon, 29-year-old trainer Emily Carter stepped into the water with Luna, a beluga whale she had worked with for years. Families cheered, cameras flashed, and the show began like any other. But in less than 10 minutes, joy would turn to terror. The crowd would scream, children would sob, and Emily's life would be ripped away before thousands of stunned witnesses. This is not just a story about one trainer and one whale. It is a story about captivity itself, the illusion of control, the dangers ignored, and the deadly price paid when humanity tries to dominate nature. This is the horrifying last chapter of Emily Carter's life, and a warning that in the world of marine parks, the greatest risk isn't just to the animals, it's to the humans who stand beside them. The stadium was alive with energy that afternoon. Families filled the stands, waving programs and snapping photos. The smell of popcorn and cotton candy mixed with the sharp scent of chlorinated water rising from the pool. The announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for the majestic beauty of Luna the beluga whale and her trusted trainer, Emily Carter. The crowd erupted in cheers. Parents lifted their children higher so they could see. Teenagers leaned over the railings, phones ready to capture every moment. And then Emily appeared. She walked proudly along the poolside, her wetsuit glistening under the blazing July sun, her smile wide and confident. This was her stage. She had been training with Luna for years, and every movement she made showed experience, discipline, and trust. To Emily, Luna wasn't just an animal. She was a partner, almost family. The water rippled. A sleek white figure rose gracefully from the depths. Luna surfaced, her melon-shaped head breaking the water like a ghostly angel of the sea. Droplets cascaded off her smooth skin as she let out a soft call, almost like laughter, echoing through the arena. The crowd gasped and clapped louder. Children squealed in delight. To them, Luna was pure magic, a living snowflake, playful and harmless. Emily gave a signal with her hand, and Luna responded instantly, lifting her body high out of the water in a dazzling breach. The stadium roared with applause, but beneath the beauty of the performance, there was an invisible tension, a truth no one in the stands could see. Because in captivity, perfection is fragile. And as Emily prepared to step into the water for the next act, no one could have known. They weren't about to witness entertainment. They were about to witness tragedy. If you believe stories like Emily Carter's must never be forgotten, if you believe the truth about captivity should never be hidden, then take action right now. Subscribe so you never miss stories that reveal the hidden dangers behind the smiles and the shows. Like this video to stand with the countless voices calling for awareness and change. Share it, because someone you know still believes captivity is harmless, and they need to see the truth with their own eyes. Every click, every share, every subscription is one more step toward making sure tragedies like this are not repeated, and that the world finally learns the lesson captivity keeps trying to teach us. Emily slipped gracefully into the pool, her hand gliding across the water's surface as the crowd cheered. This was the signature moment of the show, the dance routine. A sequence trainers performed to showcase the bond, the trust, the supposed harmony between human and whale. Luna approached her trainer slowly, her pale body moving like a ghost beneath the blue water. She surfaced beside Emily, circling her the way they had practiced countless times before. To the crowd, it looked beautiful, gentle, playful, almost magical. But something was off. Luna's movements were not as smooth as usual. Her circles tightened, her pace slowed, and there was a strange heaviness in the way she swam. Trainers on the sidelines noticed immediately. Their smiles faltered, eyes narrowed. They knew these animals well, and this was not normal. Emily, however, pressed on. She raised her hand, giving the next signal, her face still smiling toward the stands. She trusted Luna. She believed in their bond. And then, everything changed. With no warning, Luna surged forward. The water exploded in white foam as the beluga lunged. Her jaws clamped down around Emily's torso with terrifying force. For a split second, the crowd gasped and clapped, thinking it was part of the act. But then they heard it. Emily's scream. A sound so raw, so filled with pain, that it sliced through the cheers like a knife. Panic spread instantly. In one violent motion, Luna dragged Emily under the surface. The crowd erupted into chaos. Mothers clutched their children, fathers shouted for help, cameras dropped from trembling hands. The announcer's voice shook through the speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm." But his words rang hollow. The stadium was drowning in fear. Beneath the surface, Emily fought. Her arms thrashed, her legs kicked, desperate to break free. But Luna was twisting, rolling, dragging her deeper into the pool. The water that once sparkled with beauty now churned like a storm. Children cried uncontrollably in the stands. Some begged their parents to make it stop. Others sat frozen in horror, their young minds unable to process the nightmare unfolding before their eyes. What had been a stage for laughter and awe had transformed into a battlefield of terror. Emily fought with every ounce of strength she had. Her body twisted violently in Luna's grip, lungs burning as she clawed her way upward. For a brief, fleeting moment, her head broke the surface, her face pale, her eyes wide with terror. She gasped, one desperate breath, and raised a trembling hand toward the stands, as if pleading for someone, anyone, to save her. Then, with shocking force, Luna yanked her under again. The transformation was undeniable. This was no longer the playful, smiling creature the audience adored. The 2,000-pound beluga was no longer a performer. She was raw instinct, her frustration, her confinement, her wild nature exploding in violent defiance. The water became a stage of horror. The crowd could see everything: the violent thrashing, the frantic bubbles rising, the flashes of Emily's arms as she tried to break free. And then, the first streaks of red, blood swirling into the water. Gasps turned into screams. Parents shielded their children's eyes, but it was too late. The nightmare was burned into their memories forever. On the sidelines, trainers leapt into action. They shouted commands, their voices cracking with fear. Divers rushed forward, throwing ropes, pounding the surface of the pool with poles in a desperate attempt to break Luna's grip. Buckets of fish were dumped into the water, the trainers begging the whale to release her. But Luna was beyond bribery, beyond control. Nothing worked. Minutes felt like hours. Emily surfaced once more, gasping, choking, her scream piercing through the stadium. But Luna rolled violently, dragging her back into the depths. Each time she reappeared, her strength was weaker, her movements slower, her fight slipping away. The audience, frozen in terror, was caught between disbelief and horror. Phones shook in trembling hands. Children sobbed uncontrollably, their cries drowned out by the chaotic roar of the crowd. What had begun as a show of trust had become a horrifying spectacle of captivity's darkest truth. For nearly 10 endless minutes, Emily's life hung in the balance. 10 minutes that felt like eternity. 10 minutes where the illusion of safety shattered, replaced by the primal reminder that against a creature of such immense power, there is no escape. The stands fell eerily quiet. It wasn't entertainment anymore. It wasn't even shock. They weren't watching a performance. They were watching a nightmare unfold in real time. If you're still here, it means you understand the weight of this story. Emily Carter's death was not just an accident. It was a warning about what happens when we confine nature for our entertainment. Subscribe, because every story like this must be told. And by subscribing, you help keep the truth alive. Like, because each like pushes this message further, ensuring more people confront the reality behind the smiles of captivity. Share, because silence protects no one. By sharing this video, you become a voice for those who can't speak, for trainers like Emily, and for the animals trapped in tanks. Luna's grip tightened as she rolled and twisted violently, locking Emily in what marine experts chillingly describe as a death spiral. The sight was unbearable. Emily's body spun helplessly in the water, dragged and shaken like a rag doll by a creature she had once trusted with her life. The stadium, moments earlier alive with cheering, was now silent except for panicked cries. Parents pulled their children close, some shielding their eyes, others frozen in shock. Teenagers who had been filming for memories now captured tragedy. What was supposed to be entertainment had become a public horror no one could escape. Seconds stretched into eternity. The trainers on the pool deck screamed commands, voices cracking, tears streaming. But Luna didn't respond. Her instincts had taken over. Years of captivity, years of pent-up frustration had boiled into this one horrifying act. Then, at exactly 3:47 p.m., after nearly 10 agonizing minutes, Luna suddenly stopped. The thrashing ceased, the water stilled, and in that eerie calm, she released Emily. Her body floated slowly to the surface, motionless, pale, lifeless. Gasps echoed through the stands. A wave of sobs followed. Trainers dove in, pulling Emily's limp body to the poolside. On the deck, rescue teams surrounded her instantly. They worked with frantic determination, compressions, oxygen, desperate pleas for her to come back. The crowd leaned forward, clinging to hope that she would move, breathe, live. But the truth was undeniable. The damage was catastrophic. The bite wounds, the trauma, the minutes without oxygen. And then, the words no one wanted to hear. The announcement that shattered the illusion of safety forever. Emily Carter was gone. The audience of thousands sat in stunned silence. Families who had arrived expecting laughter and joy now carried trauma they would never forget. Children cried inconsolably, parents clutched them tighter, and strangers sat side by side in shock. What was meant to be a perfect day at the park had turned into a nightmare burned into the memories of everyone who witnessed it. A show meant to celebrate the bond between human and animal had ended in death, leaving behind a question that echoed in every heart. Was this tragedy inevitable? Emily's death was not the first, and tragically, it would not be the last. Around the world, Trainers have been injured and, in some cases, killed by the very animals they thought they knew best. Orcas, dolphins, belugas, these are apex predators designed by nature to thrive in the wild, not perform for applause. Belugas like Luna are not born to leap on command or balance balls on their heads. They are born to roam thousands of miles across the Arctic seas. They are born to dive deep into the frigid waters, to hunt as a family, to communicate with complex songs that echo for miles. They are born to be free. But in captivity, all of that is stripped away. The ocean is reduced to a pool. The family bonds are severed. The songs fall silent, replaced by the hum of filtration pumps. Instead of roaming endlessly, they circle endlessly, trapped, confined, and robbed of everything that makes them who they are. And when you steal freedom from a creature of the sea, the consequences are unpredictable. Sometimes it manifests as depression, sometimes it manifests as aggression, and sometimes it manifests in tragedy. Luna was not a monster. She was not evil. She was a prisoner acting out of desperation, instinct, and frustration. The tragedy was not in her nature. It was in her captivity. And Emily Carter, dedicated, passionate, and trusting, paid the ultimate price for humanity's illusion of control. She believed in the bond. She believed love was enough to bridge the divide between man and whale. But love cannot erase instinct. Trust cannot undo confinement. The lesson is clear. When humans try to control nature, nature always has the final word. And the question we must ask ourselves is this: how many more lives, both human and animal, must be lost before we finally listen? If Emily's story shook you, if it opened your eyes to the truth behind marine parks, don't let it fade into silence. Subscribe so that stories like Emily's are never buried, and the world continues to confront the realities of captivity. Like, because every like pushes this truth further, making sure it reaches beyond the walls of silence and denial. Share, because awareness saves lives. By sharing, you give Emily's story a voice, and you give a chance for change. Behind every forced smile, behind every staged trick, there is danger, there is suffering, and sometimes there is tragedy. Rest in peace, Emily Carter. Gone, but never forgotten.